Hey people, it's NIyas talking. Now, I would like to thank Ola Yinka Vitamins for suggesting this story. So, this is from Chicago Tribune. Flashback. Black Chicagoan John C. Robinson fought Italy's fascists as commander of Ethiopia's Air Force. As a mayoral commission evaluates dozens of Chicago monuments and statues deemed problematic, it will confront one memorial that has long been the focus of a dispute, the Balbo Common in Burnham Park. The honorary Italo Balbo attended Chicago's 1933 Century of Progress exposition as Italian Prime Minister Benito Mussolini's representative. Balbo was a fascist, a leader of the movement's paramilitary black shirts, one of the men who planned the insurrectional march on Rome to install Mussolini as Italy's dictator, and as colonial governor of Libya, a supporter of Italy's forced annexation of Ethiopia. Despite the outcry of Chicago's recognition of him, the Balbo column remains in place, and Balbo Drive remains Balbo Drive. Perhaps it's time to contextualize Balbo, and there'd be no better way than with a monument to a black Chicagoan, John C. Robinson, commander of Ethiopia's Air Force, and the man credited with inspiring the Tuskegee Airmen. When he was a kid, he stood on the beach and watched the first aeroplane land in Gulfport, Mississippi. A childhood friend of Robinson told a local Mississippi newspaper, right then he was thrilled with the idea of flying. And just for a second here, this reminds me of the video I did of Jerry John Rawlings, who saw a plane flying in Ghana and was inspired to become an airline pilot, which he did. It's not exactly related, but I just wanted to mention it. Check out that video. Robinson, who trained at the Tuskegee Institute to be an automobile mechanic, moved to Chicago in 1927 and soon opened a garage in Bronzeville on 47th Street near Michigan Avenue. He lived close by with his wife, Ernest. He found a way to indulge his fascination with aviation and build his skills. He established the Brown Eel Aero Club, a co-ed group of young African-American aviation enthusiasts. He bought a kit for a build-it-yourself airplane, and with the help of friends including Cornelius Coffey, began assembling it in his garage with a retrofitted motorcycle engine. The group eventually moved the project to space at the airport in Melrose Park. Robinson's contacts there led to his first training as a pilot, and he earned his pilot's license just a few years after moving to the city. Despite Robinson's impressive drive and skills, the Curtis Wright Aeronautical University in Chicago rejected his application because it didn't admit black students. But that didn't stop Robinson, who got work as a janitor there. He was always cleaning classroom floors at lecture time, absorbing the lessons and also taking notes of the chalkboard when class wasn't in session, a friend told biographer Philip Thomas Tucker. The school finally admitted him, and he graduated at the top of his class as a master mechanic in 1931. Robinson broke the color barrier in other ways. He then signed on as the school's first black instructor and taught the first all-black class, which included Coffee. The university's black students would become pioneers in aviation and the seeds of the Tuskegee Airmen, the most storied black unit in World War II. Robinson and Coffey teamed up to establish an airport in south suburban Robbins where they instructed other African Americans in flying. Though a brutal windstorm tore it apart, Coffey then set up his own flight school in the southwest suburbs. It trained some 200 African American pilots, many of whom served with the Tuskegee Airmen, either as pilots or in supporting roles. Robinson, for his part, was deeply involved in developing Tuskegee's aviation program, and is often called the father of the Tuskegee Airmen. So that's another link. This man may not be talked about, but he helped found the Tuskegee Airmen. Robinson began waging his own fight against fascism much earlier. In 1935, he announced his eagerness to volunteer in Ethiopia, then under imminent threat of Italian invasion, and drew the attention of Malaku Bayan, a relative of Ethiopia's emperor. Robinson was granted an officer's commission and the rank of colonel. He shortly took over as leader of the nation's air force after the emperor kicked out its volatile commander. Italy invaded a few weeks later. Robinson fought Mussolini's fascists for a little over a year, suffering wounds in warfare and earning the nickname Brown Condor. As a black flyer, Robinson was subject to a worldwide fascination. The African-American press in America covered every exploit of the Florida-born and Mississippi-bred pilot. The Tribune also took notice of his celebrity. In the summer of 1935, a reporter contacted his wife at his auto garage, which she was managing while Robinson was in Ethiopia building up its air force. She got most of her information about her husband's activities from the newspapers. The newspaper wrote, the Tribune's knowledge was only a little more definite. Recent dispatches from Addis Ababa have described him as chief of the Ethiopian Air Forces. The Ethiopians met the Italians bravely. In October 1935, Robinson gave the emperor his first airplane flight in many years. So this guy flew Emperor Haile Selassie. The Tribune wrote so that he might wave goodbye to 8,000 well-equipped troops riding to the northern front from Addis Ababa in American motor trucks. The Ethiopians were overmatched, however. The Air Force flew only a dozen or so aircraft described in the Tribune as mediocre scouting planes. Italian forces acted with impunity. Italy's Air Force bombed combatants and civilians with mustard gas, a violation of the Geneva Conventions, forced to keep his distance and fly in as observer. Robinson witnessed the Italian bombardment of Adwa, the site of an Ethiopian victory over Italy in the First Italo-Ethiopian War in 1896. They caught the city asleep and unaware, as he told the Newswire service, as reported in October 1935. Many sought refuge at the Red Cross Hospital, imagining they would be protected there. The killed and wounded were chiefly in the neighborhood of the hospital. Robinson returned to the United States after Italy won the war, exiled the emperor, and annexed Ethiopia in May 1936. He received a hero's welcome at Municipal Midway Airport. The Tribune reported the crowd broke through police lines to greet him. He was showered with bouquets by a girl member of the Challenger Air Pilots Association, which Robinson organized. Officers of the 8th Infantry Regiment of the Illinois National Guard and members of the Chicago Society for the Aid of Ethiopia and the Chicago Tuskegee Club were also there to celebrate him. Police escorted his motorcade to the Grand Hotel at 51st Street and King Drive, where the brown condor addressed a crowd of thousands from a balcony. Later, dignitaries included Mayor Edward Kelly toasting him at a dinner in his honor. The next year, the Chicago Defender recruited the famed pilot to lead his campaign to deliver food and clothing to the victims of catastrophic Mississippi River flooding. After his return from Africa, Robinson founded a school for aviation and automotive engineering in buildings at Poro College in Bronzeville. Poro's president, Annie Malone, the cosmetics and hair care magnate, considered it a prestigious addition. Robinson barnstormed across the U.S. to promote it. The Federal National Youth Administration took it over and designated it as a training center for aviation mechanics, with Robinson as its administrator. Brown Condor's wings pinioned by desk duties, declared a 1941 Tribune headline. The training center became another feeder into the Tuskegee Airmen. After World War II, Robinson returned to a liberated Ethiopia to train pilots and organize the country's national airline, and it's where he met his fate in 1954. He died following a plane crash in Addis Ababa. The Brown Condor is buried there in Africa in a hero. He was 50. And that is another relation to one of the people I covered, Frantz Fanon, the writer of Black Skin, White Masks, and The Wretched of the Earth. A lot of black literature and ideas were founded from him. And I'll leave his video there. Frantz Fanon also had the honor of being buried on African soil, much like Robinson. Robinson is not commemorated in Chicago, his adopted hometown. Balbo has a street and a column. Perhaps a monument to Robinson might be commissioned to be placed opposing Balbo in Burnham or Grant Park. What better way to underscore Balbo's infamy than to contrast him with the heroism of the Brown Condor? And for those of you who are, I know I have black Chicagoans who are listening in to my video, so maybe this is a cause that you can promote. Have this man and his incredible heroism and his achievements, both in America and in Ethiopia, to be honored and recognized. Because quite frankly, it is ridiculous that 70 years after his death, he is not being honored or given tribute to in the city that he contributed so much to. So anyway, I'm going to leave this article in the description. I'm also going to leave the videos of Jerry John Rawlings, Frantz Fanon, and oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, the reason I called him a black hero, because I covered another man who was very heroic, but I didn't call that one, that video, a black hero one, because I titled Black History. In that one, Eugene Bullard flew for France, and I said that it wasn't his fault because back then a lot of people were misguided and didn't know any better, but his was a tradition of a lot of black soldiers fighting for white nations who then turned around and spat in their faces. So I didn't think that we should call those things heroic, although Bullard was a hero. So anyway, I'm going to leave his video in the pinned comment as well. If you like to support this channel, leave my Cash App. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'll leave that link as there. If you want to buy one of my t-shirts, I'll leave that link as there as well. In my pinned comment, I'll leave those videos, and also I'm an affiliate for Champ Boxes. You can check out that link, and you can check out my backup channel on there as well. Peace.